All right, thank you very much for joining. I have done a little bit of changes because today my plan is to kind of rewrite the memory because I'm realizing I have an issue. And I made some choices a couple of weeks back, or maybe it's probably over a month now, honestly. I made some choices that I was thinking, hey, this is kind of cool that I can do this, and maybe it will be useful for me to debug this in the future. And I kind of feel like it doesn't really help at all. So I'm gonna revert back to a much more simpler memory model. And some of the things that I've made to make that change is just I have moved the OS out here. So we're no longer using function pointers for everything. I might still use like function pointers here or there, but I think I'm kind of preferring just like having a header file and then the implementation can be OS specific if it needs to be. So yeah, we have the OS here and that's well defined. In game, we are still including OS right at the top here, but we have predefined it as just this in, some header thing, right? That is basically a replacement for the function pointers that I really need to use. But I don't really need to use them anymore, right? So yeah, I think that will still work fine. Now, I haven't actually seen any issues with this autocomplete, which is one of the reasons why I'm like separating the memory in a very particular way. So I'm think I'm doing that. I think I'm doing that correctly. But yeah, so I've rearranged the memory a little bit like that. And then here in main, you can see I have a bunch of errors here. And my plan for today is that we will be rewriting this entire function and we will be making this a lot more, I wouldn't say sensible, but like much more straightforward. So for example, we have the state. The state is having arrays or something like this. Like here, messages max, right? I want to move more towards this type of structure. And actually, it's more relevant maybe for the OS because the OS is the thing that was having a lot of void pointers before. So here in window, for example, no, not window, graphics, especially graphics. This used to have some void pointers here. It's in OpenGL graphics, right? So I tried to put the font stuff here as arrays instead of allocating them dynamically using my static arenas. So then I can just like take the size of the entire struct and I don't need to have any weird size of struct or things like this, I believe. So I can just do a simple malloc here, size of state, align it up maybe, and then so I added these functions as well. Malloc, calloc, and alloc a. So that's how they look. So yeah, now we're done with the state, I guess. We also need graphics. But this is the question. I have the game knows about the OS. Can we do this? I think no. It's an incomplete type. So let's not do that. Let's just say state size. Maybe just size, honestly. And then the same thing for OS. Why am I having size of twice? All right. Now I'm thinking, do we need static arena? I kind of need it for my heap array and heap manager because they are still using void data. I could replace that. It doesn't have to be on a static array, static arena. But if we are doing this poison memory stuff, then I think I can still keep it and have it be pretty safe and testable, right? But I would kind of like to know, like, roughly how much size do I need? Did I fix it? No, I am in the middle of a rewrite for the memory. And what I'm doing now is just trying to get it back to a point where I can compile it again, because all of this stuff is kind of not relevant anymore, or like at least I'm reworking it in a way that I think I can more easily see what's going on, and hopefully in a way that makes more sense, because this got kind of out of hand, I realized, and I would like to just, rewrite it in a different way. Also, hey, Alex. So let's see. We don't care about this one. Now, I did do this because I was calculating the size dynamically before, but I didn't want to micromanage it, because the issue is mm, now heap manager create. These are all set in the game. I guess I could make a heap manager's required size. That would make sense. And then I don't have to think too hard about it. But I would like to declare them in the same place. So the question is, do I move this out of the game setup and into the arena, or into the allocate memory stuff? Because it is kind of an allocation, even though it's an arena. It's a static arena. So I'm just like wondering what I would like to do. All of these things are in the game. And I think the reason why I put it in here was because I needed to know something from the game before I could continue. One of these sizes, I believe. So yeah, size equals size of arena heap manager create. Let's do i32 heap manager required size or something. And what are we doing here? We have the size of the manager itself. Is that not included here? Or the manager is already, it's already here. It's only the void memory and the free slots in use. So it's max count size of bool. Max count size of U16. Is the goal to have the engine or game as a separate DLL? No. I would like to have the game as a separate DLL for debugging, because then you can compile the game separately from the engine, so you don't have to reboot the engine every time you recompile the game. And that's what is that called? Hot load reloading. So that's something I would like to get to, but it's not super relevant for, like, I would actually like the entire executable to be just like the executable. I am wondering if I really need to have an assets file even, or if I can just embed that into the executable. I like the idea of having one executable and just running that. Or at the very least, you have an installer, and then the installer just puts static assets somewhere on the drive. But then you can run the game using the installer. You know, like, it's just one executable. You don't have to like think about it too much. And it detects like, oh, are the assets decompressed? That yes, then you do this. Now, what some people have said to me is that if you do it this way and you have an update, you might need to update the entire game. So like, let's say the game is 200 megabytes and you have one bug fix that is like one if statement changed. Well, you need to push out an entirely new executable that you have to re-download the entire thing. And that is the benefit of having multiple files. But I don't expect it to have such a big impact. Like, I'm not expecting it to be a huge download. So I'm kind of torn on it, because like, there's the usability of having less files, and there's the practicality of having multiple files. And the problem is also, like, if you have multiple files, you need to make sure that the user is not messing with them too much. And then they have, you know, some like DLL is missing, or the DLL is corrupted, you know, whatever. But at the same time, I think if you are distributing your game through Steam, I think you have to have the Steam DLL. I haven't actually used it before. And if I have to use a DLL anyway, that is not pre-installed on the operating system, then, you know, maybe it's pointless. I can have one assets file and that's that. You implemented that on your game project for school, but it's hard to do when the engine and game are still both work in progress. Yeah, so I have kept a very hard line between the game and the operating system, simply because I want to simplify the process of having multiple systems, have the game run on multiple systems. So as long as I'm keeping the OS to be just very generic functions like create a window, then I'm basically I'm basically creating, I guess, my own what is it called, Raylib, sort of, but like much more simple. Like I'm not trying to make a competitor to Raylib or anything. I like to know how the engine works, and I don't feel like it's so much code to actually get it running. Whenever they had compilation errors, they blamed your build configuration, even though it wasn't the issue even once. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are just like, they learn how to use some build system like CMake or whatever, and then they can't comprehend how to do things themselves. Like I don't want to talk bad about other developers that I don't know anything about, right? But I just feel like if you are making a project and you're using Visual Studio and that's all you've ever used, and then everything is just kind of like pre-filled in into the engine, not engine, into the developer environment. What is it called again? IDE. If it's built, everything is built into the IDE, and then they have one project where they need to do something differently, and then they have no idea how it works, even though the IDE is just like a wrapper around the compiler. So I like to be closer to the compiler, and then I can run my build scripts and I can see what's going on here. And if something is missing, well, I can just add it. I don't have to look up how do I do this in Visual Studio, or like why is Visual Studio auto filling in something that I don't know about because it's just the default settings, right? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that for everyone, but I hear what you're saying. So yeah, result plus equals max count plus stride. That should be exactly what we need, right? Oh, I never aligned the stride. You could build the editor as a separate executable from the game, and you were so proud. Yeah, I get that. And that's the thing, like, because I feel like a lot of people, they're just kind of writing the code, and then months later they're realizing that, oh, actually, I can't, like, I'm using this Windows specific thing everywhere, and now if I want to release it on Linux, suddenly it's too much work, and you have to like go and find replace in 1,000 places. So that's why I'm also using a lot of header files that are like sort of just wrappers around things. Texture creates. Like this is very generic, and it's using mostly my own, or it's using entirely my own structs. Ah. But then in here, because this is in the OpenGL graphic C file, then I can use whatever OpenGL stuff I need in here. And if I would use another graphics API, I can just do a if DirectX is defined, then I do some other thing, or I include a different C file, right? So I like that workflow a lot. So yeah, I think that's all I need to do. Heap manager. I need to expose this, of course. We'll see if we move the create in here instead. So let's see. We are having a bunch of them. So we have the prefab and prefab count max. Maybe I make it so that this has to run first of before create. So I could kind of combine it right now. So I say the heap manager goes in here. And then manager dot stride. Manager dot slot count. And then I don't take this and I do some assert that the manager stride has to be larger than 127. Or maybe like this. Same thing for count, slot count. So yeah, we can just do this instead. Heap manager create. Yeah. So we skip these steps. And replace those. And now we do heap manager setup of states. What's the first one? Prefab. So we can calculate this here, but we can actually create them later after we have made the arena. Now, it might still make sense to put them here, but this will work for now. What is the issue here? Undeclared. Did I not call it? Setup. Oh, typo. So we do that for all of them. Next one is UI count. Size of UI. Then we have mesh. What is this? Oh. No, wait. Oh, it's called result. Sure. Meshes. Then we have lights. And whoops. UI mesh lights. Prefab array. Oh, this is a heap array. That's true. One thing you like in C++ over C is reference variables. Being a little bit more specific about if something takes a reference versus a pointer makes sense to me. I understand it. So you're talking about instead of having this in here, you would have a reference like that, right? I understand it, but I never really used it. Like I never got into it. But I feel like the more I program, the more I can understand liking it. Yeah, this is array setup. So we need to create that as well. Yeah, I guess I don't have so much to say about it. I understand why people like it. Heap array setup. So the heap array doesn't have booleans and it doesn't have free slots. And we can kind of just copy this. We don't need to do this or that or this. How was it still undeclared? Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of the time, I feel like it's kind of like I really don't like having to do this in C or in C++ for that matter. Like honestly, like so many times have I just added, like I'm switching between a local parameter and like copy and a pointer, and then I have to go through all of the code and just like do a dot or this and replace it. And because it's also like one symbol versus two symbols, it like messes things up. And sometimes it makes more sense to think about, like reason about the object, not as a pointer, but as a copy. But like you still want it to be this original thing that you gave it. So like I see the use for it. I never really got into using it myself. So for count, what we are counting, the number of heap arrays. Oh, and the UI as well. And then graphics mesh manager. Oh, I keep copying the right one for some reason. So this stride. When I made this function, it's just the size of. So that's all I need. I made this function because I didn't want to pollute the game with the OS specific graphics stuff, because this graphics mesh, it has OpenGL stuff in it. Or well, I guess it is not technically OpenGL, although this one is. It has GLEW and. But if we're doing it in the main like OS layer, then we don't really have to care about it anymore. So graphics mesh, graphics text. Is this really undeclared? It is graphics texture. Okay. Cool, cool. We're at the end here. So that hopefully is all our heap managers and arrays. Now I still need a little bit of memory for my font, but nothing is saying that I have to use the same arena for the font because, like, again, I just kind of want to separate everything so that I can have more control. I am using KB text shape and it's doing its own allocations, and in KB text shape, if we go to alphabet here, we are having this arena allocator wrapper, and the wrapper is just, well, you can see it. We are giving it some arena where it's allocating, and it kind of just works out in the way that I was working with it. I don't know if this is actually, yeah, we only have a linear allocator at the moment. I don't know if we need anything other than a linear allocator. I could live with just letting it use malloc, but at the very least, I can use a different arena so that I don't have to just guess what the static size should be. So I hope that makes sense. So we can just say that this is the static size. Do we need anything else? Scratch size is scratch size. That depends on the assets that we're loading. So that has to be just like some number. But we are popping this all the way down to 0 pretty much every time. So we don't have to think about that too much. Window graphics, this is what we replaced. This is a horrible way of doing this. Yes, because I don't want to do this anymore. Alphabet. I think where is alphabet right now? Your concept of arenas was that they were for disposable stuff, like they get allocated, used, and freed at runtime. But it looks like I'm using them like pools. It's just a semantic thing. Yeah, so what I'm doing specifically right now, the reason why I still want to use them for this specific purpose is because TCAP showed me something quite useful. I guess I could technically, like, you don't need to use an arena allocator for this, I guess. But I like to be able to like see the memory, I guess. We will see. Maybe this is stupid. Yeah. So I have my memory that I'm allocating, and then I have double that memory, and this entire region is poisoned. And so in my arena allocator, I can put these regions on top of each other like this. Right. So I hope that makes sense. And then those would be the static size for prefab. So this would be prefab. And the next one is UI. So this is UI. And do I really need to use this rather than an arena? I guess not. But since I have my arena anyway, like, and I can just like push this on there. And if I ever want to do something more specific, then I don't know. Actually, this might be worse if I use an arena. The nice thing is that like this entire block, I know the size in beforehand, so I can allocate the entire block in one call and clear it to 0, and then I can do these sub allocations. Because realistically here, I know it's not a huge amount of work, but I don't know how many I'm gonna need, and I still need to write the code for it. So I prefer to have one giant block that I sub allocate rather than this is one malloc and this is another malloc and this is another malloc, because then I just have like dozens and dozens of mallocs in the game. Yeah, it's kind of semantic. Yeah, then the benefit is, of course, if I'm using the sanitizer and I use this doubled memory, then I know if this one is ever writing in here, because like the offset goes beyond what I'm expecting. Now, if you, like, you can see here also that it's not actually super safe, because if you would take this isolated, then this would be poison memory, and then you would have the Windows allocator saying, "Hey, you are writing outside of your page size." But then you just have a crash in general. So I don't know. I couldn't tell what is maybe the best thing to do here. Yeah, this is what I'm doing it anyway. Take it as you want. I'm gonna say I am still learning half of the things I'm working on. I am not claiming to be the world leading expert on arenas or anything like that. I am just trying things out and seeing how they go. And that's also why I'm doing this rewrite right now, because I realized that my allocate memory, it was just kind of not going the way that I wanted, and it wasn't helping me. The complicated structure I made for it wasn't really helping me dealing with a bug that I'm dealing with right now. So that's why I'm rewriting it to be more straightforward. For your school allocator project, this whole memory we called a page, and it was broken up into blocks. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, it sounds like kind of the same thing. Also, result dot os equals os. So slow right now. It's set but not used. Well, we're getting to that. So let's just try this, right? Arena creates. What arena are we talking about? We're talking about result here. Static arena. Size. Well, it's the static size. Now this I don't, or do I want to use this? Because, okay, so I'm creating the arena times 2. Well, oh no, I closed paints and I can't go back. Well, I have my, I can make this quickly. I have this times 2, right? But what I'm doing here is I'm poisoning this part. And the issue is that if I'm doing the initial allocation and I have a bunch of them, this is how I want to do it later. What I'm actually doing is I'm creating all of this, or no, I'm creating like this, and then I'm poisoning this. And that's not really what I want to do. So if I'm sanitizing it, then I do times 2, but I am not poisoning the size. Yeah, makes sense. Now the full size, the full size does need to know, like the arena does need to have the full size set. And I guess it does. Yeah, all right. So that should be good. Then when we are pushing, this should go down here. So again, we're doubling the size that we're pushing. And we allocate it. And we do this alignment up. This means that I could be, if I'm having it as tight as this, I could actually be hitting that accidentally. But because I'm not counting how many like maximum blocks I could have. Mem setting a block of bytes to something like bad, bad, bad. Yeah, something like that. Let's see if I can find an image. Yeah, this seems good. So I think what it's doing, is this explaining what it's doing? I guess. I feel like I don't understand this graph actually. But yeah, sort of, it depends on the sanitizer, I guess, but they are just taking like, you give it a zone and a size, and it's just writing, some values there that shouldn't be uh, valid for anything like FA or CC. And then if you ever, whenever you access the memory, I guess it's jumping in between and checking what the value was there before. And if you are in this region that you have poisoned, then you hit an assert or something. Shadow memory. Yeah, I'm not gonna claim to, like, this is the first time I'm using a sanitizer, so I can't really explain it better than that. But in principle, using it should be very simple, because all we really need to do is add this. And then if I want to poison memory, I can do this. If I want to unpoison it, I do that. And then I can just have my macro to enable it or not. And I can add my own reasoning. Because the thing is, like, on Windows at least, and especially if you're using debug, because I don't know if, like, it's something about page access. Like, you can, if you allocate a single byte, I think technically you do have access to the entire page, which is like 64K. But if you are running with debug, then even if you write to the second byte, although you do technically have that allocated for you, Windows will still complain about it. So it, like, whenever you're doing something on Windows like that, it already does this poisoning for you. But of course, if you're using an arena and you're allocating an entire block and all of it is valid memory according to, Windows or whatever OS you're on, then you need to do this like manually. Yeah, it uses some way to do this poisoning. And I think even if you allocate a single byte with malloc and you look at the memory in here, right? Then you see your byte that you allocated, and then like it's some other data, and then later you'll get like this 0xcc. I think it is by default. And it's poisoning the rest of the page because it's doing the same thing. But if you're running on like O2 or O3, I think it doesn't do that because it's just extra work that is drawing performance for no reason if you have debugged the application properly. So yeah, this is an issue now. I want to align it up to 256 bytes, but I don't know. Let's see. We have blocks max. Now, the worst thing that you could do is allocate 1 byte 1024 times. Mm, and technically, you're off by a factor of 256. Wait. 256 times 1024. This is the maximum amount that you can be off by. Now, again, this would also be valid for if we're not using the sanitizer, we still have to think about that. So it's block size max or block count max. Let's just do the full 256. And let's align it up for good measure. Why not? We can even do +1. Because I am not looking for writing a single byte over the limit. I'm looking for something where, I do size of, struct. And then later I do align up size of struct times count. Because I'm using align up. This is just like a macro to do this calculation. We add one and then and it with this to make sure that it's on the byte boundary of 256 bytes or 127 or 16 or 4. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make the memory thread safe without locking the memory. So as long as I can guarantee that only one thread is working with the memory, there's not going to be any overwriting of bytes from one thread to another, because these boundaries are aligned with the reading. What do you call it again? Thread read access page something. What do you call it? Cache line, right? So if you align it up to 64 bytes or 127 bytes, then you will not have cache line overlap between threads. So then you can just, with one thread in one region of memory, you can do whatever you want, and it should still be thread safe without doing any using any mutexes or something like that. Now you can still use mutexes or I guess atomics to hand out the tasks, like the memory region that you will be working with. You can use atomics for that, but then it's doing its job. You don't have to use atomics or anything like that to like prevent overlap of these cache lines. So that's why I'm doing that. But that means like I just want to prevent this situation. And the way I would prevent it is, well, this might be 30% larger, let's say, because this is 200 bytes and this is actually 256. So if I'm using up all of the slots, like let's say I have 8,000 objects, I write to the 7,900th object, then this would still overflow into the poisoned area. So I think like I'm not too concerned about this being technically like more than I need. So I think if I do this, this should be safe, because that's a maximum that's a maximum amount of bytes that this can overflow with, plus a little bit of extra and aligning up. But then when we push, we do the size 2. So actually, this also has to be multiplied by 2. Right? Maybe we don't do it, because this is a lot of protection anyway. I don't know. Because I'm doing this before I'm doubling the size. Or should I should actually do like this. And then this makes sense, right? So we are aligning it up before we're doubling in the push, and then the overflow is the same. Otherwise, the logic is like a little bit weird. So we're doubling the size, and then what I need to do, we are writing the destination into this block. Well, the problem now is that the next time we go here, this arena used was never, or it was? Let's see here. We grab this pointer, we write that into the block, we add block count, and then we say used, which was doubled, is plus equals. And then we set the size, because the size is still like half. We don't want to write into the poisoned memory. But this arena used, next time it goes here, it will be unpoisoned memory again. So this should just work. Now I have this arena alloc, and the way I was thinking about it was that I will be using one for, it's like reserve and commit, and this one is just reserve. But I feel like it's the same function. So I think that's just like left over from before. Now I have realloc. I don't know if I'm actually using it at all. I do it here. And it's very, very simple. It's just taking the entire arena memory and doubling it and copying it over and deleting the original one. And I guess because we are writing poison memory, these functions, they're just writing the actual bytes into the memory. If we do this, this should be just work. It should just be working, right? But we used alloc here. Well, this is an issue if there's no blocks assigned. Current block. Well, if there's no blocks assigned, we don't really need to do anything. We can just like all of this goes in here. Do I have arena destroy? Clear. I don't have that. How do we free alloc A? It cannot be freed. It's done automatically. Okay. Well, so realloc can allocate something new if there's nothing inside, because I want to double the size. Right? So the only difference is that we are reallocating it to the new size, but we are not copying any of the memory over. Turn. Makes sense, right? So specifically what realloc is doing is, before we are like destroying anything or freeing, we are creating a new pointer for the data, copying over all of the data to that place. Although, am I copying over the pointers? There's no if loop here, or for loop. Or free. I think I wasn't really thinking about it when I was writing this, because this doesn't make sense to me. So, okay. If we're having, is this a hobby or work? Well, it's a hobby in the sense that I am doing it on my free time, but it's work in the sense that I'm trying to make something out of it. So partly I'm learning because I would like to have a job in development eventually. I am sort of developing things, but not in the way that I would like. I would like to get more into C programming professionally, or at least, engine or game development, or some kind of application that is not, just another web app. But then also, like, what I'm making here, like, I'm thinking I could potentially sell it eventually. And even if I couldn't sell this particular project, I'm learning things that I can use for my next project. So it's all in my grand plans, so to say. Right. I don't need this. Thanks, man. What am I doing now? Changing jobs tends to be more marketing than raw skill. Well, I am sort of marketing myself right now. So I have my website, and I wrote this entire thing. And if someone is interested, they can read through it and hopefully get something nice out of it. And also, you can read the source, and you can find, here's some comments about it. I have examples here with benchmarks and things like this. Assets, example, BMP. This is my dog. So yeah, like, if there would be any recruiter that would go through this, then I think that they have a lot of things to read through. This is also a Windows application for reading these. I actually have it. This is my image viewer called Yoga Viewer. So I can open up this PNG and I can zoom pretty nicely. Now it's zooming from the middle of the image, which is a little bit annoying, but you know, not everything can be perfect. And something I added was that you can rotate it like this. And of course, if I go to where is it? Git personal assets. This is a yoga file. So this is my own image format. This is a photo that I took and it's using my .yoga file format, right? So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can like look at if you are curious. And this one also, this is the game working on in the browser. So this is the same project as this one, although this is a little bit outdated because this is single threaded. Share the link. Can I type it here? Yes. All right. So yeah, like this is my toy engine. Like like I said, I'm still learning a little bit while I'm working on it, but implementing multi-threading I've been working on for a couple of days now, maybe a week. So this is working just fine, but that's why I'm rewriting the memory stuff. So yeah, when I get this to a good state, then I will finish this like as a simple game. I would like to make some planets that you can like maybe land on, or like moons, something like this. Eventually, I would like to do something similar to a Kerbal Space Program. Now, I'm not saying that I will make the sequel to this game, right? But like this is sort of what I'm building towards. That you know you can have a rocket that you can land on planets, and I'm trying to think of ways because Kerbal Space Program, it's the planets are tiny. They're like how small? Like 1/20th scale or something. Yeah, 10 times smaller in radius than their real counterparts. Now, 10 times smaller, it's still huge. But like, I'm trying to think of ways that how would you actually make a full scale planet that you can land on? So I'm just like, I think that's a really cool challenge to do that in a normal application that isn't like super buggy or choppy, let's say. But yeah, I have a lot of things like this. I also have another website, but it's nothing right now. So this will be my CV eventually. And I would like to use Emscripten for this also. But, you know, something, you know, not a game, but like, hey, this is me. This is my projects that I've been working on. This is my LinkedIn or whatever. And then, you know, so that's kind of what I'm working towards. You work as a platform engineer, DevOps and cloud. Yeah, I am working on uh, I'm working with this program. So right now I'm freelancing and I'm doing broadcasting stuff. So you're building graphics projects and put the data in to display like live graphics and stuff like this. And it's used for news or sports, things like this. And then you sometimes you go to events and you sit in this control room, and you see here you have all these buttons. It's kind of cool. Like I like it in a way, but still, you have all these buttons. These are like proprietary, weird, 20-year-old technology with proprietary chips and everything, and then they can like send. They can barely send a signal over IP or even what do you call it? MIDI. A lot of these things are using MIDI, right? And then you can also have, you can have like some kind of HTML thing where you have actual buttons. I made something like this for my phone. Oh, oh no, is it not working anymore? I made a, dashboard on my phone, but I guess I can't open it anymore. So yeah, you can use HTML to just have, because you're just sending signals, and it can be like TCP, it can be MIDI, it can be like almost anything really. And usually we use XML or JSON for the data transfer, and then you read that into some program, and then the program is doing the animations. It's shaping the text and everything. Do I work from home? Yeah, currently. So I am building these projects that look like this. Now I can't show you any of it because of course it's under NDA, but this is a public picture of some studio. So like these are the kind of graphics that I'm making. So you have the company logo, timer, day, current date, what is the bug showing the current segment of the show, and these ticker items, these are being fed from some database, or you're having some editor who is filling them in and then pushing them onto the screen. You have these talents, they're called, and they need nameplates. You're having the topics of the day. It's all very involved. It's a lot of people going into a broadcast, and I'm just like one part of it, but like I've been working with this for like 10 years. So there's multiple parts. There's operating the projects, and then there's building the projects themselves. Making sure everything runs smoothly, making developers' lives easier is your core goal, but it's pretty much that developer operations. I'm more of a cloud engineer than a DevOps engineer. You will never come back to the office. I do wish I could stay working from home because it gives a lot of freedom with where I live. But I also recognize that a lot of companies are going back to the office, and especially for these things. So like if you are having an event, you just have to go there. Like there's no doing it remotely. Some of the things like we have had the editorial guy who is doing these, for example, the ticker items or stats. Those things we have had remote, but like because of delay and everything, you really don't want to do this remotely. And like let's imagine that you have an outage of the internet. You know the like it just has to be like one person who is essential who loses access to his internet or electricity for 10 minutes, and then like the entire broadcast is messed up. Yeah, if block count is 0, I kind of forget how this looks like. Size used, data. So all we really need to do. Oh, it's like the entire thing. What? Did I close it? No, here it is. So if the block count is 0, then I don't know, we just arena destroy. And then arena create. In terms of tech work, you've been seeing the opposite. Well, I was talking to some guy to see if he could find me a job in the industry, and he was like, his first question was literally, "Are you comfortable moving and working in the office?" And I was like, "Well, technically yes." And honestly, I've been working from home for like the past 6 years now, so I do feel like before and after COVID, it was a huge shift in like company culture and like people drifting apart. And, I would go to the Christmas party and I would know nobody there because all the people that I knew, they moved away and worked from home. And then, like we would still meet up because I would go to these broadcasts, but it wasn't very often. And you always feel like you have to catch up, and then things go slower. So like I can see it in from that perspective that maybe something in between would be better. But at the same time, it's so comfortable just working from home. I I don't know if people are actually more productive just because they are in the office. It's more about a culture thing. And they do save money, yes, because they save money on electricity, on office space, on you know cleaners. Like having an office is very expensive. If you have, let's say, 50 employees, then I think the office is going to be the same cost as 10 more employees just on its own. Willingness to work in the industry in terms of the tech skills is knowing the absolute very fundamentals of computer systems. Okay, you guys are having a discussion, but that's fine. How do I actually reallocate this? Because the memory is part of the arena. I don't think I have to do this at all. The culture is met. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. If you are a single person living alone in the countryside, then like I think the culture does make a big difference. But if you're having a family or you're having lots of friends, or like if you have your own social network where you live, then the company, a job is a job. You're working there for money. So like it doesn't have to be your life to be the guy working in the office and being friends with everyone. I just noticed myself that I was just sort of isolated after COVID and, you know, drifting apart from colleagues that used to be closer friends. And then even if you are like talking online on these, online meetings or stuff like that, it's not the same. So for some people, it's more important, maybe. For others, it doesn't matter. Current block size, new size. So the issue I have with this is just that I am not editing. Oops. I'm not editing the pointers at all, and that's an issue. So we need to create a new arena. And then we need to copy over everything. The destination is the new arena. The source is the old arena. And the size is size of arena plus what? The arena block count. But I don't know how large the blocks are. So let's do a for count, arena block count, I. We will see with AI what happens, but in your opinion, we are in the peak of coding agents in terms of raw power. Maybe they reinvent the wheel a bit more, but no one knows, I guess. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, no one really knows, but I think that we are at the peak of AI computing. So, like, we are, if we make a graph like this, right? And this is today, and this is like the maximum potential in T here. I would say that we're probably at the point of diminishing returns. Like, I know that you can maybe this graph doesn't look exactly like this. Maybe it's more like, this. And I would say that we're at the diminishing returns stage where there's two problems, right? Number one, everything is more expensive in terms of electricity and GPUs, memory, everything. Like, it's just so expensive to run these agents. And then also more and more things online. Like, if you just Google something, Shakira, I don't know, the first thing that I could think of. And I don't know, like, you go to some random like website about it, like most of it is just written by AI, or not, maybe not most, but like a lot of like text about things right now, it's just written by AI. So you have AI poisoning itself. I just opened your mind. There are different people in terms of social interactions. Yeah, well, I know because I lived through it. But yeah, so when you think of AI slop, maybe GitHub is a better, like, if we're keeping it to coding, right? Uh, if you go to GitHub, like how much of the GitHub projects do you think are written by AI today? And even worse, like vibe coded by some people who know nothing about AI. They just slapped something together and uploaded it because that's what you do. Maybe they ran it to make, you know, a portfolio for their for themselves. Well, the problem is now all of the AI agents that are reading the code on GitHub, it's all written by AI slop. So like you can't really train an AI anymore and get better results because the data it's training on is also made by AI. So it's this feedback loop that the more AI is producing, the less potential gain can you have from training an AI model. Like there's less material relative to the amount of material. And that's another thing also, because like when AI models first came out, they were having a much smaller set of training data. And now, like, I don't know how much it is in real terms, but people usually say that, you know, the data of the entire internet is doubling every couple of years. Well, since AI has uh, become popular, probably this has like the AI content, the content of the entire internet is probably doubling at a much faster rate. So if you want to take all of the things and train your model on, suddenly the cost for doing that is going to also skyrocket. And if you don't want to like micromanage what is made by a person and what is made by an AI to prevent this like self-poisoning loop, like that's also like a huge task in itself, and it's like more man hours than it's worth. So like I really believe that we are like at this edge, and at the same time as we're like getting this plateau where like this is about as good as the current models are going to get, you're also having, you know, Anthropic doubling their prices overnight. And then the other companies, like, because everything is just propped up by investor money. And like these AI companies are just like buying services from each other to inflate their revenue. And at some point when investor money runs out, you know, because what OpenAI is losing 1 billion every couple of months. Like, how much are they going backwards? They will report cash losses of 14 billion in 2026, with an anticipated total cash burn of 115 billion. That's 115 billion negative just for this one company. And there's many companies and they're doing the same thing. Like Uber losses per year. Uber profitability. They were doing something similar, but you see these numbers, like Uber was one of the least profitable companies, and they were like just like kind of pushing through with investor money to make it work, to wait out the taxi companies going bankrupt or whatever. But it's still, it was like a couple of billion, maybe down to 10 billion, and now they're profitable. But if you, if you would draw the same graph for OpenAI, you would have to make it this big, and then OpenAI would be like down here. You know, it's just like it's just complete downward trend, and this downward trend is accelerating. It's not slowing down. Doubling in quantity. What about quality? Well, the quality, you have to find people who are making things well, and it's the same thing. Like if you go on Amazon, how much stuff is just made from some Chinese factory, and how much is made by some artisan who is spending time on their work. Now, of course, some things from China can be good, and sometimes you don't. Not everything has to be made by some artisan. but it gets harder and harder to trust things, and I don't like that type of development. Yeah, Uber is one of those famous companies for just losing money when using investor money to push through it, and they still lost, a tenth of what OpenAI is doing, and that's just one company out of like 10. Yeah, and Uber, it has an actual product. The AI model is to steal things and launder them and then resell them at a lower price than what they originally like stole it from for. Like for example, if you would buy a billion songs in order to if you would buy the rights for a billion songs in order to train your AI model to generate songs for people, then that would be more money than anyone could afford. So they just steal it, and then they have like some investor money to run the servers, and then people can do it for free to get hooked, and then suddenly at some point the expectation is that, well, people are going to start paying subscriptions, and people are paying subscriptions. Like some people are paying Anthropic thousands of dollars per month just to have some vibe coded trash. But not everything people are using AI for can it doesn't really work for everything. And people are not going to pay, $10,000 to generate songs for fun. And then yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a messed up market thing, and I don't believe it's going to last. It's much more. I will say, AI is much more usable than whatever came before it. So like, I think that Bitcoin and the whole crypto market, NFTs, that was like trash from the beginning. Like there was never any use for the way that they were doing it. They like, okay, there is the use in the fact that people can buy illegal products, sort of, and criminals can also launder money, and that was the like use for it. So it was useful in that sense, but like there was no way that any country, except I guess maybe El Salvador, I don't know how they're doing right now, but like no serious country is gonna adopt crypto in any serious capacity. Uh, at least not with the like cryptocurrencies that existed on the market at the time. But still, it was pushed by like every marketing guru ever, just because, oh, it's the hot thing right now. And AI has sort of replaced that, because like no one really bought, well, I'm not going to say no one, but like not so many people as they hoped for bought into the whole NFT scam, where you are buying JPEGs for thousands, maybe even tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that people have all these servers with GPUs for mining crypto and creating NFT and markets and things like this. And then AI comes around, and suddenly, oh, we can just swap the servers to be running AI instead of crypto. And at least AI is a little bit useful. It's a little bit useful. It's not as useful as they claim it to be, but it still has a use, and it can be helpful. And you have translators, you have parse this 100-page document and like tell me the bullet points, and it will be fairly accurate. But it's still not worth the price. And the only reason why you can use it for free right now is because Google has like infinite money, and the other ones are having investors, and well, Microsoft is also having a lot of money, I guess. Still not as much as Google though. Yeah, and then you know, I am not a financial expert, but like the way the Nvidia stock is going, like this is not sustainable, right? Like it's not sustainable. And Tesla is also like, you see, this is also crazy to me. Like I don't know how this happened, but you know, what's the other one? AMD. Like how is this sustainable? And I actually gotta say, I had AMD. I bought like around here, I think 100, and then I think, when did I sell? It was after the Trump election. So I think here in November or December, I sold at like 210. So I like doubled my money, like 2.5 times my money in like 2 years. But like, this is not sustainable. Like, what is this? Like, this is stupid. And, you know, at some point it's going to come crashing down again. And I don't look forward to the day, but you know, the market corrects itself eventually, I guess. The winner is the shovel sellers. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I guess that's why AMD and Nvidia became so huge, because people also realized that, you know, you can these graphics cards are in such a huge demand, and because you have the like stacked crypto and then AI, it's kind of like having two cakes, you know, from nothing. Like you just like one cake, and then once you finish eating the cake, you get another cake. It's like, wow, I have so much cake. It's not a good analogy at all. I don't know why I said it. And then they say the economy is cooling. The economy, I I don't see how it's cooling. Like I have this stock right now, and you know, I bought it around here, or I've been investing like over time, right? Like I initially had a price of like 90 euros or something like this, and then it's been increasing and increasing, and here it fell a lot. I think this is right when the gas prices exploded, and then it's like, no, actually, never mind, we don't care, and then it's just like blowing up for no reason. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I guess like the market is just too big to fail. So like, and everyone is just putting their money into the stock market no matter what, if they can. Hey, you're a developer, you want to remake Resident Evil 1 and 0, but you don't know which engine to choose between Source and Godot. If you have other options, tell me. Uh, well, it's a hard choice for me because I haven't used either Source or Godot. I used Godot one weekend for like to try it out, and I didn't really like it. It's a little bit like it it works, but it doesn't like it if you're like, there's a lot of things you have to do if you don't want to use the like Godot script thing. Maybe it's better now, but you know, Source has many commercial products behind it, so like I would probably trust Source more than Godot if you want to remake something like Resident Evil. I don't think people really like Unity anymore. Unreal, it's very good, but it's also very not expensive. Like it's taxing on your computer. So you shouldn't use Unreal on a laptop. Or you need a beefy machine if you want to like do proper development on Unreal. More money and that's it. Let's just enjoy the moment to think about and have a good day. Very late here when I leave. Thank you for the chat. Yeah, thank you for joining. I need to actually finish what I was doing also. So I think maybe maybe let's stop talking about the market and get back to programming. So yeah, for every block, we need to do two things. We need to realign the data. So we have data and size. And then the block data is equal to new arena data plus total size. But before we do this, I think that works. Would I want to see your memory allocator from your school course? It might give me some ideas on how I want to do mine. Well, again, this is just a very simple linear allocator. I am just, I'm not even using this function. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to fix it. Current pointer. Eh, like this is just messed up. So I thank you for the offer, but I think this is all I really need to do, and then I'm done. The thing is, I'm only using the arena as a static, push and pop from the bottom, and I already have my heap manager here with slots. They are basically blocks that I allocate and destroy, and then I can put things in the middle. I don't want to make a more complicated allocator because I don't really care about, like, if I would write an allocator, I do know sort of how to do it. You're having your block, but you're having these pages. And then whenever you push a new block, you say, well, the size is down to here. So then you allocate the entire 3 pages. And then you say, well, page 0, 1, and 2 are assigned to this block, you know. And then you can map different pages to the same memory. You can map the free pages to memory in the same way that kind of Windows does it. But I don't want to write an allocator like that. Like if I get to that point, I just use alloc or malloc, right? So yeah, this is almost done right now. I think this is all I need to do. Actually, no. I need to do arena destroy. And this has to be a pointer to an arena, right? Yes. So I will leave it at that. Arena realloc. Now that's gonna cause an issue here. Scratch arena. Ah, I see. So this is just taking the allocated block and doubling it. It's not reallocating the entire arena. Whoops. So we still have to write arena realloc. Well, I guess let's take a look again. GitLab. I'm just going to copy paste the code from GitLab. It's my code, so I can do it. Where is it in game? So yeah, now this makes a lot more sense, I guess, because we're having the current pointer and we know that there has to be something allocated. We can even... What does it take? Arena source size. You feel validated in your confusion from earlier? Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just not thinking too hard. Actually, I have to take a short break. I will be right back. Hello, I am back and I have a couple cookies. So we can spike my blood sugar for the final push. I feel like this is just a waste of time. I'm just gonna copy it back. I think it's fine. It worked. Yes, what you don't need is the cookie crash. But that's why you gotta keep eating cookies. So you keep the high. No, I only have like 4 of them. So it will be fine. I feel like I kind of lost the plot here, what I was doing. We were editing allocate memory, and then suddenly I started rewriting the arena because I needed to poison the memory. And there's one more thing. When I pop the memory, I don't actually know if I can do this if the memory is poisoned. I guess we'll find out later at some point. Yeah, when I'm popping the arena, I need to unpoison memory. So we have the block here. The end, where we started from, and the size, we make sure that it's the same. It's not going to be the same if, or is it? The arena size is double. Or is it the block size as well? I'm trying to find out what's going on with my memory. Yeah, I know that much. I was just thinking about the details of why am I doing this instead of that? This size is double. And that should be fine. So when I'm popping, I just want to unpoison that memory real quick. So we make sure that the memory is the same, and then unpoison memory. The destination is this plus half the size. Oh, it's a void star. This is a UA data, block.data plus the offset. And then we unpoison. Oop. I think that's correct. I think you were doing this to poison every other block and then chat distracted you. Yeah, I have noticed I get distracted by chat. But it's fine because if I'm not streaming, then I have 2 dogs and a wife who's distracting me instead. So I'm used to it. I know that she can hear me right now, so what is the error here? Yeah. Here. Okay, finally, we can come back here. Arena create. We are having the Scratch arena. We're going to give it a fairly small size, but 10 megabytes should be enough. You do the most when you're alone with your head down. Yeah, I get you. I like to, just lock myself in with some loud music and get into sort of a work trance. And I can write, 1,000 lines of code in a couple hours. At least if I know what I'm doing. Right. That's all for the cookies. So if I'm making weird chewing noises, then it's over now. You can unmute the stream, which you would not hear me saying, but whatever. What is going on here? Now this is also a pointer. We need the index for this. And also this is in graphics. Chasing that coding flow state. Yeah. Like sometimes it's just like, it's hard to get into, but like when it happens, it's great. But you also have to know what you're doing. Like if I need to, the moment I have to go into the debugger, I lose the flow state. No member called Font Graphics? Really? No. That's not true. Oh, I renamed it because I wanted to make sure that I caught all of them because I changed this to have this font count there. So where am I getting this index from? It's from the font, right? Yep. All right. We are almost back to compiling, and then we can see if we instantly crash. Nope. Well, now you hear the dogs. I'll be right back. Someone is at the door. it was the neighbor who couldn't get inside, and they decided to ring on the worst door, because our dogs go crazy every time it happens, and it's, I wish I could disconnect it if I'm not expecting someone, but I can't. So we just have to live with random people ringing our door at random times for no reason, and having a huge situation every time it happens. It's really annoying me. Right. Are we compiling now? Almost. Component mesh destroy. I think I don't actually need this. And wherever I need to call it, component H I need. We don't have it anymore. And where are we calling it? Nowhere. So that was a good deletion. So let's see. Moment of truth. Where did we overflow? Huh? Where are we actually using this? Ah, I remember. So when I do push, I'm copying some source over. And when I do alloc, I'm just, okay. That makes sense now. So we just want to do the exact same. Align size, double the size, and then once we're here, we do this. Mm-hmm. 1 megabyte. One and a half. It's already on the second or first. Doesn't that seem a little bit low? 16 kilobytes? So size of prefab, what is prefab? $384 times the maximum count. That is way larger. This is 1 byte. This is 2 bytes. So it's like times 3, right? The stride align up. I hope everyone sees the issue. Heap manager C. Silly me. All right. Now this fits this. Stride wasn't set up correctly. Okay. Which one? Entity manager. That's true. So let's put it right here. So it's in the same order, right? Static size plus equal manage setup. Entity, right? Still out of memory. Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Static size is mm, 1.5 megabytes. Oh, oops. Let's just do float here. 1.5. Damn it. 2, 2.8, 3, 322. 4. About 4 megabytes. So when we reach this out of memory, let's see, the array looks like this. Is that the same? That is the same. What is this size? 9 megabytes. 2,304. That doesn't seem to be on a boundary. $2,000, really? Am I doing this? I'm doing the same stupid mistake. So you can see here also, if I take this result, divide it by 127, and I make sure that it's a float so we can see the result. Huh? What? Oh, is it 128? Yeah. Okay. So you can see this is an even number. This is a float, but it's 0.0. File size is larger than arena remainder. So we are reading something that is too large. What size is the file? Oh, we used the entire thing? This JSON file is like 2 kilobytes. It's text JSON. You see, it's like, this is all. Can I see the size of it? 4 kilobytes. 3.38 to be more exact. Sometimes, yeah, it gives you the actual bytes here. 3,471. So that should definitely fit in a scratch memory of 10 megabytes. And I don't think we actually loaded anything before. So for sure, it's something about the arena. Now, the arena already has 27 things. From where? Read file. Actually, I might be reading that into the static arena simply because I need to save it, right? So that is valid. And you can also see that this is our 32 megabytes. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. So if our arena is very, very tight and we are trying to add 4 kilobytes to it, then that could overflow and we could be filling the entire thing. Although it shouldn't be this close. So I guess maybe let's make a file arena, just because I don't really want to. I want to separate the logic from storage memory space, because now when I'm mixing them, it's hard to like reason about what belongs where. So we do that in the game header. At the top. And again, I think we can just sort of put this on 10 megabytes in main here. File arena. So this is file arena now. Now I'm hesitant to just remove the arena from here. We should definitely go to all the references there, though there's not going to be that many. So there's the definition. This I have no idea what it's doing. We have this thing that I just changed. We have the definition, and then we have OpenGL. Yes, okay. Read file, no. Okay, this is going into Scratch. That's fine. Because we're just reading it and deleting it. That's exactly why it exists. So Scratch Arena again. Scratch. Scratch, scratch. Scratch, 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 scratch. Scratch. This is deleted. Scratch. 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 And that's all. The yoga file. Where are we putting this? Oh, we're creating the texture and then we're popping. So that's completely fine. What's the issue here? No. Arena out of memory again. In file create. Why am I creating a file? Am I just creating it to get the handle? Token file. JSON tokens. I have to admit, I completely forget why am I doing this? In main, yeah? But why am I doing this? Like, I know what I'm doing in terms of using these JSON tokens. I am parsing this file. And then I'm, looking up the different things inside. So text, JSON. I am just like tokenizing it. And then I say, well, if I go into data, language, and intro to, and body of the first index, then I get this Arabic text, right? But I have no idea why this is a file. Assets, files, file count, data. What's the path? I'm sorry, I'm very confused. And then I take this data pointer and I start tokenize. Am I writing this anywhere? Because I'm not seeing any write. Like, it's going nowhere. I don't see why this is not just. I don't see why this is a file. But oh well. Anyone knows how I put in a folder here in the include compile flags? This is just for Clangd. And I'm a little bit confused right now because normally I have the iSystem dependencies here and also here. Yeah, right there. Dependencies repo name. And that should be generating a JSON here. And we should be able to see HandmadeMath. iSystem dependencies HandmadeMath. So I don't know why Clangd would not read this file right now. But I guess maybe later I will think about that. The actual compiler has no issues. So let's see if we run out of memory again. Access violation reading null pointer. Now, this is something I wanted to do for some time. I wanted to rewrite it because, as you can see, this is like manually. This is how I did it initially, and then I wrote my manager thing. It could even be a heap array, I guess. But I don't know. I'm thinking I'm starting to get a bit hungry again. And I need to go to the store. So I think I might just call it here for now. I am curious to see if this will be, it could be even that the bug is solved because I was having some issue in the main function, but I'm not sure. Once we get back to running without issues, we can determine that. Yeah, I've been going on for 3 hours, actually exactly 3 hours. So I think I'm going to call it. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for chatting. And yeah, I'll see you around.